The Three Lovely Presents by Enid Blyton. Father was going away for a whole week, and the three children were sad. They hated it when their father went away. Mummy will miss you, said Janet. So will we, said Dan. We'll love to see you back on Saturday, said Rosie, and they all gave their father a hug. I shall bring back three lovely presents for your garden, he said. What will you bring? Asked Dan. I shall bring a new wheelbarrow, a fine digging spade, and a green watering can, said father. Good, said Dan, who longed for a spade to dig up his garden. Lovely, said Janet, who had always wanted a wheelbarrow. Ooh, said Rosie, who simply loved watering her flowers. They were all good gardeners and had little gardens of their own. Goodbye, said father. Be good and help mummy all you can. Then he jumped into his car, started it, and off he went down the road. Mother was going to be very busy while father was away. She was going to do some spring cleaning. You can really help me a lot, she said to the children, and Daddy will be so pleased to see everything shining and bright when he gets home. But, dear me, when Mother found something she wanted Dan to do, he sulked and wouldn't do it. It was when Mother found that she had come to the end of her soap powder, and she asked Dan to run down to the shops and get her some more. I'm busy reading, sulked Dan. You always ask me to do errands while I'm reading, Mummy. Will you go for me, Janet? Said Mother, looking rather sad. But Janet was busy too. She was washing her doll's dresses. Can't I go when I finish this? She said. Rosie was busy tidying the toy cupboard. She looked up. Mummy, I'll go, she said. It won't take me a minute. And it didn't. She popped on her coat, ran down the road, and was back in minutes with the soap powder. Her mother was very pleased. The next day, Mother wanted some daffodils picked out of the garden and put into a vase for the table because Aunt Ellen was coming to tea and she wanted her table to look nice. Janet, dear, run and pick some daffies for me, she said. Oh, bother, said Janet. Well, perhaps Dan will go, said Mother. But Dan was far too busy. Rosie jumped up and said never mind, she would go. So down the garden she went and picked a large bunch of daffodils. She arranged them beautifully in a vase and put them on the table. As she did so, she trod on Janet's toe quite by accident. Oh, you clumsy girl, said Janet. Look where you're going. I shan't lend you my new wheelbarrow if you're not careful. Sorry, said Rosie. You shouldn't stick your feet out so far. That night, everybody forgot to put Sandy the dog into his kennel, and Mother suddenly remembered just as it was the children's bedtime. Oh dear, she said, we've forgotten Sandy. Who will take the torch and put him into his kennel for me? Dan said nothing. He didn't like the dark. Janet thought it was raining and she didn't want to go out. So Rosie thought she had better find the torch and take Sandy, or else her mother would have to do it. You're very selfish, she said to Dan as she went to find the torch. You just don't do anything. If you talk to me like that, you shan't use my new spade when Daddy brings it, said Dan sharply. I don't care, said Rosie. I shall have my new watering can. She found the torch and ran out in the dark with Sandy. It wasn't raining and there was a lovely moon, so she didn't need the torch after all. Sandy went into his kennel and curled up on his blanket. The next day, Pussy was very naughty. She jumped up on the table where nobody was in the room and began to drink the milk out of the jug there. When Janet came into the room, Pussy was frightened and jumped down. But her claws caught in the tablecloth and down it came and all the tea things with it. The milk spilled all over the floor and the jam pot broke. Oh, what a mess of plates and milk and jam! Mummy, Mummy, shouted Janet, Pussy has knocked over all the tea things. Oh, Janet, cried her mother, what a nuisance! Do clear up the mess like a good girl, because I'm in the middle of putting up new curtains in your room, and I just want to finish them. Janet looked at the mess and sulked. Why should she have to clear up what Pussy had spilt? She was just going out to play, and it would take a long time to clear everything. Then she saw Dan coming in, and she called to him, Dan, look what Pussy's done. I'm just going out and Mummy wants all this cleared up. Will you do it? And before Dan could say yes or no, the naughty little girl had run out to play next door. Dan stared at the mess and frowned. I'm jolly well not going to clear this up, he thought. Why should I? Mummy will easily clear it up when she comes down. So Dan slipped out too and went to play with George, who had a new railway set over the road. Soon Rosie came in, and when she saw the dreadful mess all over the dining room, she did get a shock. Oh dear, she said. I suppose Pussy has done this. I'd better clear up the things in case Mummy comes down and gets upset. So Rosie picked up all the tea things, wiped up the spilt milk and the jam, and tried to mend the jam pot with glue. Then she washed up all the dirty things and cleared everything away neatly. Mummy didn't come downstairs until all the children were back again and were sitting at the table doing their homework. She was so pleased when she saw the upset tea things cleared away. Thank you, Janet, she said gratefully. It was good of you to clear up the mess of spilt milk and jam and put everything away. Janet went red. I didn't clear it up, she said surprised. I told Dan to. I was just going out. Then it was Dan's turn to go red. For Mother turned to him and said, Thank you, Dan dear. That was very kind of you. I didn't do it, said Dan, but he wished he had. I did it, Mummy, said Rosie, looking up from her spelling. It didn't take me a minute. You are a real help to me, Rosie, said her mother, and she kissed her. Janet and Dan were still red. They wished that she had kissed them too. Well, the next excitement was Father coming home again. The three children were all at the window watching for the car, and at last it drew up at the gate. Janet gave a shriek of delight. Look at the parcels in the back. I can see my wheelbarrow with its one wheel sticking out, and it's got a double tire too. And I can see the handle of my spade, shouted Dan, running to the door. And I can see the spout of my watering can, cried Rosie, and out they all ran to welcome their father. He came in with all the presents and a suitcase. He hugged everybody and asked Mother how she was. Splendid, said Mother. And all the spring cleaning is done, so I've had a very good week. And have the children helped you? Asked Father. Mother looked rather solemn. Well, she said, I've had a lot of things done for me. I ran out of soap powder and somebody ran down to the shops and fetched it for me. Good, said Father. Who was that? Rosie, said Mother, and Father gave her a hug. Then I wanted some daffies picked and put into a vase when Aunt Helen came to tea, said Mother, and somebody did them most beautifully for me without a single grumble. Fine, said Father, looking at Dan and Janet and wondering which of them it was. Who was that? Rosie, said Mummy, and Rosie got another hug. Then Mother went on, and one night we forgot all about putting Sandy into his kennel, so somebody got the torch and went out to put him in for me. Splendid, said Father. I wonder who that was. Rosie, said Mother, and Rosie got a kiss. And another time Pussy jumped on the table and upset all the things onto the floor, said Mother. Somebody cleared them all up without being asked, though the somebody who was asked didn't do it. And who was the somebody who did it without being asked? Said Father. Was it Rosie again? It was, said Mother, and Rosie got such a hug that she lost her breath. Rosie has been the greatest help to me, but I'm afraid the others haven't really tried. Isn't it a pity? A great pity, said Father, undoing the three lovely presents he had bought. I'm afraid Rosie must have all the garden things. Rosie, here is the spade, and the wheelbarrow, and the watering can, with my love and best thanks for being good to Mummy for me while I was away. Janet and Dan burst into tears. But Daddy, you promised you would bring us those, wept Janet. Yes, I promised to bring the presents, said Daddy, but I didn't say who was going to have them. And as you have done nothing to deserve them, Rosie must have them all. So Rosie did. But you know, she really is a most unselfish little girl, for she lets Dan use the lovely big spade, and she lets Janet have the wheelbarrow whenever she asks for it. Don't you think that's nice of her?